Hello, and welcome to video 1 in the CRAPE tutorial series. The purpose of this video is to walk through the steps of signing up for a CRAPE project. If you are watching this video, we assume you are familiar with what CRAPE is. If you are not familiar, please visit the link provided on this slide, osf.io/WFC6U, and read the wiki that we have written, and then return to this video. When you sign up for a CRAPE project, you should begin with our step-by-step guide for CRAPE projects. This guide is a Google Doc, linked here, and located at bit.ly/CRAPE_guide. Within this doc is a manual for completing a CRAPE project. Let's start with step 1, review studies. When looking for studies, it's helpful to consider a few different factors. Specifically, you should consider whether it is feasible for your site to complete the project. On the next slide, we've prepared a summary of all currently active studies and some of their key characteristics. Here is a table of all of our current studies with their key characteristics. If you are watching this at a time when our study menu looks a little different, then we recommend looking through the studies for these specific characteristics. The key questions you should ask yourself are, is this in a relevant area? If you are teaching statistics, methods, or general research courses, then this might not be as relevant. But if you are teaching a social psychology course or supervising a thesis student, it may be much more relevant. Second, ask if it's reasonable for you to collect the recommended N. Collecting an N, or sample size, of 100 using online participants can often be done by having students in the course distribute links to their surveys on social media. Third, ask about the format. Is it reasonable for you to collect data in person? When and where will this happen? Fourth, and similarly, is the time required to test each participant? Do you have the space and time for that? Finally, it's really important to think about the statistical analyses required for the study and any other special considerations. Sometimes a study with more complicated statistics requires the mentor to do the analyses themselves, or perhaps with one or two students in the class. For special considerations, it's important to closely read the Methods section to see if there are required materials or software that you might not have access to. For example, we currently have a study that requires MATLAB, which is expensive and not always available on college campuses without certain majors. You should also note when a study ends. Studies that end in 2020, for example, will be written up for publication in 2021. If you have students who are interested in being involved in the manuscript process, or if you are interested in this process yourself, the sooner a study ends, the sooner it will be written up. The next step is to officially get on board, using our submission form on Google Forms. This form also links back to the step-by-step guide for your convenience. On this form, we ask you a series of questions about your plans for completing a CRAPE project, which I'll cover on the next slide. It's important to remember that each team fills out the form only once. These are the questions that we ask on the submission form. They include name, institution, whether the submitter is a mentor or the student. If they're a student, we ask for the mentor's name and email address. We then ask for all email addresses for the team members, if that's something the submitter knows at the time. The form continues with a request to identify which project you want to complete, when you'll start and finish data collection, and any questions you have. If any of this information changes, you can always email us later and we can update our information. Within 2 business days of your submission, you'll receive an email with onboarding information. This includes some very important information: your project number, your executive reviewer, and your CRAPE assistant. Anytime you email us about your project, you should email your executive reviewer and CRAPE assistant, and you should always include your project number in the email. Once you've done this, you are officially on board, and you can start building your OSF page and populating it with the information you need. You can start this even before you hear back from the CRAPE team. Please watch our next two videos, Creating an OSF Page and Preparing Your Project Submission, for information on next steps. Thank you and good luck!